Andrew, my boy, I think it's time for you to grow up.
Grow up? I don't want to grow up. You know why? Because I am a Toys R Us kid. Guess what? They got 1 million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't want to grow up. I am a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. Guess what? It'll really flip your lid. From bikes to trains to video games. It's the biggest toy store there is. Gee whiz. I don't want to grow up because, baby, if I did, then I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys. Oh boy, I want to be a Toys R Us kid. Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Man, I'm excited. We have made it here to the end of Nostalgia Month, right? It's been a blast, man, kind of just reminiscing on childhood, that sweet feeling of nostalgia. Man, we've done so many things. Look, last week was amazing. We had Jason from the new 80s Revolution on. That was a blast talking about cartoons. It's got me, again, this whole month is just really, and I know, Kirk, it's doing the same for you, just kind of feeling this wave of nostalgia. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I mean, it sums it all up in the little message you sent me earlier today when we were kind of just doing a little research, looking up old toys, and you're like, dude, I'm about to cry. Like, you know, you get into those moments of nostalgia where you just kind of goes back to a Christmas or a birthday or a you know, hanging out at school or your friends, and it just brings back all those feelings.
Yeah, man, it has been a blast. But look, let's not mourn it because it's over. We've got another episode, a great one today.
Yes,
you can tell. Look where I'm hanging out, talking about nostalgia. Look, KB Toys, Kirk hanging out right in front of Circus World, man.
That's old school right there, baby.
The fact that we're in a mall is old school enough as it is. What is special, Kirk, about today? Who are we bringing along with us to walk down memory lane and talk about our Rushmore today? Who we got today?
Well, hey, look, I'm bringing on none other than a friend that, man, we were just reminiscing just a second ago. Back in 2000, me and him were boys. We hung out 99, 2000. So almost 22, 23, 24 years or so that we kind of met. We were roommates for a little bit. We were both in the United States Air Force, and yeah, BJ went on to serve our country for a long time. But everybody, welcome to our show, BJ Hines. Welcome, BJ. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, BJ, man?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
So, BJ, I know online that your name's Barry. That's your dad's name. You go by Ox sometimes. I know on your TikTok, been following your TikTok, Baby Ox. What's the number?
Baby Ox 78.
78. Baby Ox 78 is the reason I kind of was like, dude, I got to have you on the show today. So today, none other, we are doing a Rushmore of toys, dude. And I've been watching your TikTok. You have quite the collection, my friend. Tell us about it.
Yes, sir. I've pretty much been collecting for over 25 years now. Anywhere from, I'll say, wrestling figures, Pokemon, pretty much.
Gotta catch them all, baby.
Yeah, figures, no cards, figures.
It's all good.
Dragon Ball Z. Since Mattel just recently released a lot of wrestling figures, it kind of took me back to those old 80s wrestling figures, even though they weren't posable. They just one movie.
Hey, look, BJ, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet, but I need you to go back and watch last week's show. Our guy Jason on the show. The reason I brought him on, he does all 80s stuff. He's called the New 80s Revolution. That's a little throw in for him. Everybody go and sub and visit him. But the reason his show actually got started is because of the old LJN unposable figures. Yeah. And hey, that leads us into this. So we're going to do a Rushmore of toys, dude.
Let's get it, baby.
Let's go.
All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's wrap up Nostalgia Month. We are going to talk about our top 4 toys. I know, just like every Rushmore that we do, these are so incredibly difficult to narrow it down. We know the collection that BJ has. We ourselves, maybe not collecting, but we have a lot. Kirk, I've been to your house. There's toys all over the place, mostly because of Cannon. but
Cannon has a grip. Cannon has a grip.
It's got him in every space of every room of the house, but I love that. So, Kirk, how did you narrow it down? What is your Rosie? Let's get started with our Rushmores.
All right, so let's get started with the Rushmore. Here's my criteria. Here's the reason. One, I'll tell you a little story. One, first off, KB Toys. I worked at KB Toys, my very first job. I was actually the toy demo guy. I worked for my sister. My sister was the manager. And on top of that, because I was working kind of seasonally, when I got hired regular time, I had to go down at the end of the mall where Playland was, which is the old circus world. And I worked there for a little bit. So that's where I started with toys. I was the kid that wanted all the toys. So my criteria is really, really easy. My criteria is really simple, right? First off, we're not going to do any video games today, at least not on my Rushmore, because we've already got a whole month,
right,
solely dedicated to video games. I really thought about, pulling up the list. There's a lot of really cool, when it says the top 80s toys, the top 90s toys, top 2000 toys. A lot of them are board games or card games. I know that we're going to do a Rushmore of board games later in the future, so I kind of nixed all of those. So when it got down to really what are my collections going to be, it's going to be like, this is a toy that I not only had, but I almost just fiended for. Like I had to get another one. I didn't I didn't want just one. Like you said with Pokemon, I had to have them all. I got to catch them all, right? I got to go get them all. And so all of these, all 4 of mine, and many of the Benjamins that we're going to mention later, are toys that I collected, like not just played with, but collected. And then last and finally, the big deal, it is Nostalgia Month. So these are toys from my childhood. There are really amazing toys that my kids have. I mean, like Andy, you said, there's toys all over my house. I mean, we're inundated with toys. My son is very much like me. We are toy kind of kids. That's kind of, when you're a kid that's not necessarily the most popular kid around, you weren't necessarily the one that had all the money, or you weren't or all the girls. There was a lot of things that us nerdy or geeky guys did, and video games and toys and comic books and, that geek world. And I was a toy collector. So it's got to be toys from my childhood. So that's it. Now, look, I'm going to start off my Rushmore really, here's the fine line in the sand. We're going to talk about some that didn't make it. And man, there are some really awesome toys that I know would be on everybody's Rushmore that totally missed mine. And one, I didn't collect them, or 2, I didn't collect them as much as these 4. My number 4 is probably going to be the most obscure of all of my toys. And BJ, I know you're going to know it. You're an 80s kid. I don't know, Andy, if you're going to know this one.
I'm an 80s kid. I was born in August of 89.
So I think it might have came. I think this one came out in 87. So you might know it.
Okay.
I actually was trying to find one of these today because I have one in this house. One. And it's in this house somewhere in Cannon's stuff, right? I'm like, dude, go find this for me. And he couldn't find it, but I'm going with none other than the Battle Beasts.
Wow. Dude, okay.
Yeah. This is a toy that I literally probably had them all. I probably collected every single one of them. So I looked them up today. I was like, man, how many were there? So there were 4 series. And in the 4 series, there were 76 of them in the first 3 series. And then there was 36 more, but they were called laser beasts. And I don't even know if I was collecting them then, but they had a whole bunch of things that were called like chariots. And basically battle beasts were these like anthropomorphic animals that wore armor. And the cool thing is, as you can see behind me, right where my head is, it was fire, wood, and water. And the guys would have like a hologram that was on their chest, and you had to put your thumb on it or your finger to heat it up. And once you heated it up, it would show what kind of battle beast that guy is. Right. So if it was the white lion leader, which he was the leader of the good guys, and I think the alligator was the leader of the bad guys, if you rubbed his chest and it was fire, right? If his was fire, right, he could beat the wood guys, but he would get defeated by the water guys. And if you rubbed it and it was wood would defeat the water guys, and water would, and so on, and get defeated by fire. And so on and so forth. And I just love that concept. That was kind of like before Avatar, if you will, as far as games. As far as toys go in my mind. But I had them all, and I thought they were the coolest things. Now, look, I have one left in this house, and it is the chicken. And the chicken is somewhere in Cannon's room. The hologram doesn't work anymore. I remember when I was in high school, I had the bulldog, which I always thought he was one of the cooler ones. The bulldog he had black armor. He was gray, and he literally was glued to my dashboard of my truck. Like he was sitting there on my truck. Like it was just, I don't know. I'm nerdy and stupid, but dude, battle beasts were so awesome. They were like 2 inches tall. You lose them real easy. Only the arms could move up and down, and everything else was non-posable. But I love the chariots. I had almost everything. I had the weapons. I had the bases. The chariots were like a deer and a deer and a, oh no, it was a ram, a deer, and a fish, I believe. And then the bases were like a firebird, and I can't remember the other one. But dude, battle beasts. Number 4, my Rosie. I know that probably nobody's saying this one, but when I think of my childhood, it was about playing with these guys. I remember also being so sad when the hologram stopped working. Like there would be a time where that thing wouldn't go. And so, hey, look, there's my Rosie. Tell me, do you guys know this one? Do you know this one?
Well, BJ's shaking his head, so I think he does. But
yeah.
I will tell you, you did stump me. So I have not. I just had to Google those. So they look cool. But outside of that, I don't really know. But BJ, so you
I just like the concept of them.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. It sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to collect them back in the day, and even you probably know this, Kirk, that pretty much the line was pretty much based off of paper, rock, scissors.
Right.
But I've even seen them now in some of the toy stores I frequent, and just one of those battle beasts, run about anywhere between $25 to $50.
Good,
just for one.
Yeah, and they're like 2 inches, dude. From this point on, I dreamed as a kid of like doing video games and having like animals fight. And if you know anything about me, I'm writing a book, and it's kind of based on an idea like this. It really is based on an idea like this. It comes from the idea of all the elements and anthropomorphic animals that are almost like as if I'm in that battle beast world, and with my kids. And so I love this. It's really cool, and I honestly, it's one of those collections my mom threw away years ago that I'm sad of losing. But yeah, I have a whole gosh, what my mom threw away was thousands of dollars. And even if she would have given it away, that'd have been cool. But I think she just tossed it. All right. So that's my Rosie. That is my Rosie. All right, dude. Yes. So Andy, where are you starting at?
Okay. Well, let's go criteria real quick. It was so hard to narrow this down, and I sound like a broken record because I know we say that every week. This is no exception that it was difficult. Just like you, I had toys galore as a kid. I jokingly talked about how Cannon has them everywhere, but that was me. I get that too. So when I think about it, and I was trying to narrow it down, I was thinking of, I had a wide range of toys that I liked. I never really stuck on one in particular. I mean, there were certain, obviously there's these 4 that I'm going to mention that were kind of above the other ones to me. But there was one, and it's actually my Rosie that I'm going to share here in just a second, that I was like, for some people, they could see this as embarrassing as some of these toys, but I want to fully go into like what my childhood was. And I think nothing does that better than toys, because it just it was a lot of my life. Like, it was hanging out in my room, staying inside, playing with these toys, just the imagination that comes with it and everything. This Rosie, I don't know if that's much of criteria, but I guess simply, did I have them and did I play with them? Like, that was my main thing, right? So all four of mine are going to be in different sort of genres, okay? And that'll make sense when I go through them. But my Rosie, my number 4, I can remember. So these actually debuted in 1993. Is when this line debuted. And since then, they're still continuing today. My kids have them today. They look a little bit different, obviously, from 1993 or even from, late 90s, early 2000s when I was kind of collecting these things. Huge collectible market. This is one of the toys that, I think that if you were making a list of goats, and I tend to do this a lot, but I think that I just love the really great things. This is going to be one of those things that makes the list of collectibles, of toys, of everything. And I actually have an example. Now, my example is one of the newer ones. It's not the old ones that I had, but I'm gonna tell you, my Rosie tie Beanie Babies, man. I loved, and I only brought this up. This is Peppa Pig. This one was actually bought for my kid from England, so it was actually really cool. But here you go, Beanie Babies. You got it written down. Beanie Babies, I loved them, and I just have this because it has the tag. Nowadays, they kind of look like this. They have these big eyes and stuff like that. They've got different kind of, I guess, look to them now. But gosh, I can't tell you how many of these things I had. I remember, so I grew up, in the town that I grew up in, there was a couple stores that carried them. And I remember my mom bringing me and my brother, my younger brother, to these stores, and we would hop from store to store looking for specific ones. I know it kind of sounds like a really baby kitty thing to have these stuffed animal type things, or maybe even girly, but bro, I loved Beanie Babies. I couldn't lie about it. This was just my childhood. I remember this. The unfortunate thing about it, I actually messaged my mom before we were filming this. I said, hey, do we happen to still have those? Because, I mean, we had to have bags and bags and bags and bags and full of these things. Like, we had so many of them that it wasn't even funny. I mean, how many that we had. And I know that they have value, right? Like, these things, when you look online, like, there's some of these ones that are worth a fortune, right? Now,
but you need the Princess Diana.
The Princess Diana. I don't think I have that. I didn't have those ones, but I mean, even some of the lesser ones are still worth a good bit of money. So my neighborhood, we had a Mardi Gras parade every year that was like in the neighborhood, and we had a trailer. So like we did a float thing, and my mom's like, yeah, I think you guys like threw all those out at a Mardi Gras parade as throws one year. I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. We did that. We didn't have the wherewithal to think about 20 years down the line what it was going to be worth. But still, just great memories. I remember, like I said, one of my fondest memories is going from store to store, looking for them, getting them as gifts. Also, hey, we might mention this at some point today, and I think if we're not going to, I might as well mention it now. McDonald's toys back in the day were where it was at, and McDonald's, and even today, like, they just rule the kids meal toy game. They just always have. They never give out books. They don't give out, like, I don't want a QR code to go learn some science. Like, no. I want an action figure. I want a little toy. Anyway, they had Beanie Babies for quite some time, and I think since they've done it occasionally. They've done the Beanie Babies, and we had those. They were a little bit smaller, but gosh, when you think of goats, when you think of some of the greatest toys of all time and collectibles, Beanie Babies are always going to make that list. And for me personally, a huge part of my young, adolescent years. So my Rosie, my number 4, the tie Beanie Babies. What are you guys' thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, goats. I mean, they're there. They're there for multiple reasons. I don't know that they're in the top 4 of the best ever, but there was a bit of a craze for them for a while. Even on the girl market, there's about 6 or 7 girl market type toys that I think would probably be even higher. But at the time, there was a big craze. My My oldest daughter collected these, and we still have tons of these somewhere. I remember going to the mall, and we didn't buy these at the toy store. You bought them at the clothing store, and they had like a big section for them, like Justice or one of those places. And we'd always have to go get the new one. And because they retired them, and they all had birthdays, and they had names, and you get the little plastic protector to protect the tag.
Well, that was the thing. If you rip the tag, they lose all the value, right? Like that, it was over.
Right. Yeah. And I remember, first time I ever started like selling on eBay, like doing eBay for a little bit, when I was in my early 20s. My niece was like, "Here, you can have all my Beanie Babies," and I was like listing every one of her Beanie Babies. And months or so later, she's like, "Did you ever sell any of those? I really want them back." And so I gave all the ones back that I didn't sell. But yeah, I was like, it was a big deal. I mean, Princess Diana's is worth like $50K or something.
I mean, it's crazy. It's a stuffed animal.
Like purple with her flower on it and stuff.
Yeah.
I never collected these. These are way past my time. I was like, man,
You're in college, or
I was in
that
college.
Would be weird.
But I'm not. Hey, look, I'm not against collecting a stuffed animal. I have a bunch of those. That wasn't the one I was thinking you were going to go to. But when you said 93, and you said your kid still has some, I had to write it down to make sure you knew that I had that joker, dude. So yeah, I figured it out. Hey, BJ, this isn't a thing you collect, huh?
No, sir.
Okay.
But no, that's the thing though. Like he said, I remember back in the day when McDonald's pretty much had that line of Beanie Babies, and then you had the Beanie Baby craze out there, and I wasn't into it.
All right, BJ. So BJ, now it's your turn. So BJ, tell us a little bit about why you'd be on the show. Tell me why you'd be on the show, and then tell us your criteria and give us that number 4, man. Welcome to the show, Rosie. Here we go.
Thank you for having me up on here. My criteria was I was looking at basically toys that pretty much I had as a kid, that throughout the years, even our kids are having them as they grow up. So nice. That was one of my criteria. And just, from movies, cartoons, and everything else, that's what I kind of stick to. And my number 4, my Rosie, I'm gonna have to go with Transformers.
More than meets the eye.
Said this right here. One thing about it, I think my mom back in the day paid probably about $18 for a blaster, and I went and traded my $18 blaster for like a $5 GI Joe that I wanted. My mom sent me back up the street. She's like, "Go get that toy back." So because I didn't know the value of what she spent on it, but Transformers, like I said, more than meets the eyes. Just the fact that from cartoons to movies and everything else, from me as a kid to my little 9-year-old cousin that I'm raising, he up there knows about Transformers.
Yeah,
and it's got history. It's got a longevity. It's got the history. And even I don't know the voice actor's actual name. Y'all know Optimus Prime's voice is so iconic.
Autobots, transform and roll out.
Transformers is definitely a trendsetter. Transformers is I'm just go out and say it. It's one of my Benjamins. It's number 5 for me. But you're gonna take that one off my list. But here's the deal. The cartoon was amazing. It just missed my cartoon Rushmore last week. It was my number 5, right next to Ninja Turtles, right there. It was those two were fighting for that Rosie spot. But the cool thing about these toys was if you watch the cartoon of any of the cartoons that were kind of big then, they were all 30-minute toy commercials. I mean, that's what they were. And the idea that there was a person out there that could figure out how to make that robot go from the robot to like I remember I had the one that was a space shuttle that turned to a robot that turned to a train, like a locomotive.
Astro train.
Yeah, Astro Train, dude. He was one of my favorite, right? But the idea that somebody had the wherewithal to figure this out without computers, like think about that. Like you had to draw this out. You had to like think about this in different ways. Now today, you put it in a program, you figure out how to do it, whatever, and it didn't look cheap. It was made really well. These were really good toys. What about you? What about you, Andy?
I had that toy. I had
that Astro Train.
No, the one that you just pulled up, the boombox, right? Like I had that toy. I remember it. I did not put it in the box. I think it was a hand-me-down from my uncle or somebody.
And they brought out another one.
You could fold it. I still remember how it folded, like the legs, how they wrapped around and they made the rectangle. Yeah, super cool. Love the Transformers. I mentioned it last week, or maybe we talked about it, where I have an uncle who's just slightly older than me. He's kind of, I guess, in you guys' age range, so maybe 10 years or so older than me. So he's always like a really cool uncle, and he had all these toys. He had I won't mention any other ones because they may be on your lists, but Transformers was one of them. So, yeah, love it. Great pick. Where are we going to go for? We've moved now to TJ, Jazzy Jeff. Kirk, where you got?
Now this one was a little harder because there was a bunch of these guys I really wanted to put in here. I mean, whether it was something that had to do with my Christmas and my birthday, which is today, by the way.
Hey, happy birthday, Kirk.
Yep. So here's the thing. I got a lot of these for my birthday, but I'm going to tell you this, most of my collection of these, and I am, and I'm 44 now, and I'm just going to go out and share it. When I was like 9 or 10 or 12, whenever these things came out, I was a kleptomaniac. And I remember, listen, this is one of the reasons I wanted to share this one, because this is such a vivid memory. We would go to Walmart, and back in the day, when you go to Walmart, your parents didn't walk you through the store. They're like, we're going to the toy aisle. We'll see you in a little bit. And you ran over the toy aisle and you hung out in the 6th toy aisle the whole time while your parents shopped. You have no idea what they did shopping, and then they'd come and get you. I literally would open these packs up and stuff them in my shoes. Dude, I took so many of these. And so, and it's a very core memory of mine. And and I loved them. I had so many, and I don't think you could ever collect every one of these. You would have to be a super collector. I don't know how many there are. I couldn't find a number. They've been going on for quite a long time. Okay, so here we go. Started in 1986, and the commercial is iconic. I'm gonna go with none other than Bing. Micro Machines.
Yes, awesome.
Micro Machines. Look, and I know they just released them again, not recently, like during the pandemic, but these things would come in these little cases, and you would get like a line of construction ones, and it'd be like all 5 construction ones, or you'd get a line of like sports cars and all the sports cars. You'd get a line of Air Force. It'd be like all the jets, which those you don't want to put in your shoes. Those things hurt, man, because those little wings. But yeah, then you had like the Tough Tracks line, which was like Gravedigger and Bigfoot and all those guys. And then you get these little like I don't know how big they were, but they're probably about as big as my hand, like this. They were like probably 4x4, and they would open and close. You could put the figures in, but they would be like the gas station or the parking mall, the parking garage or whatever. And you buy all these little pieces, and you would build this big city, and these cars would drive on it. And I'm going to tell you, I probably had 300, 400, 500 of these as a kid. And I'm guaranteeing that half of them I didn't pay for. And this is when I became, this is what led me to be a crook early on as a bad kid. But the cool thing is, iconic commercial. The guy's name was John Machida Jr. He was the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talker.
And there are many miniature playsets to play with, and each one comes with its own special edition micro machine vehicle and fun, fantastic features that miraculously move.
So if you've never seen this commercial, he just and he just goes on and on about these things, and I loved it. It was great marketing. Great. It is my favorite. It was one of my favorite toys, man. I had so many of these things. I love them. And that's my number 3, my TJ Jazz.
I am so glad you brought these up. I had Micro Machines too. I love it. Did you have, I remember, core member you're unlocking. they had a camper van that unfolded into a big city. I
Yes.
had that thing,
Yes.
and I remember that toy, and it was like a whole town when you opened it up with roads and bridges and everything.
I also had the Nintendo video game where you race through like all the things. Like Micro Machines were just a cool thing, man. And I did see that they started coming out with them again, and I almost started purchasing them for my son, but he needs nothing that small. I mean, he has enough toys. They're like this big, and gosh, that they would be lost day one.
I love it.
One.
I love it. It's great pick, man. Micro Machines. I love that.
I didn't collect them, but the funny thing is, or I guess a little knowledge, the guy who actually did the voiceover for the commercial did the voice of Blur on Transformers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good connection. Good
Kind
connection.
of a Crushmore, maybe? No,
Maybe.
no.
No.
Awesome.
And none of those guys really did it. My favorite ones were the monster trucks. They were a little bigger, but they weren't huge. But they kind of wiggled on the chassis. And I loved just crushing all the other cars with them. It was fun. It was Micro Machines. Bringing back nostalgia right back to my. And I'm saved now. I'm a pastor, but I got to tell a little bit about my old self.
I like to imagine that somehow, some way, the manager of that store is following us on YouTube now and is watching this episode. And like, that's where the Micro Machines have gone.
That's where they're at. Yeah. So, all right, Andy. All right. So, no Crushmores yet. What is your TJ Jazzy Jeff, man?
All right. So, my TJ Jazzy Jeff, I am so excited for this one. I really tried to make this my number one, my George, for selfish reasons, and really just to kind of hold off this visual here for a minute, but nonetheless, this made my top 4. This is my TJ Jazzy Jeff. Now, this is a very specific line of toys. Okay, so I'm not picking an overall, like I did Beanie Babies, right? And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and if not thousands of different types, right? This series, this line of toys, actually is only 4 total in this set. It was a special edition that came out. I owned these, or my parents paid for them, right? Like I paid anything for it. I had these in my possession as a kid. I obviously didn't keep them in the box back then. I don't have them, or I didn't have them for a while. And actually, one of my relatives, one of my aunts, got these somewhere and mailed them, like without me asking. Totally just surprised me by this, and it's just something I've kept in my house for a while now. But this was put out by McFarlane Toys. So McFarlane Toys, a great line of toys. So if you guys like Spawn, that's really kind of one of the classic, what we think of when we think of McFarlane Toys. Now, this is not Spawn, although the toys very much resemble it. My TJ Jazzy Jeff. In 1998, this band reformed, got back together with all original members, and put out an album called Psycho Circus. We're talking about Kiss, the Psycho Circus toys. So here's Gene Simmons in the box, man. It's a little yellowed, man. It just sits there, right? So Gene Simmons is the demon. He's got a ringmaster that's with him and some accessories and different things. So I've got him. I've got Ace Frehley, right? So Ace Frehley, Space Ace. He's called the Celestial in this set here, and he's got a guy with him as well. And the third one that I don't have Paul Stanley. Now I have a green screen behind me. This is not KB Toys for real. So just in case you were confused and thought I was actually at KB Toys. So this guy, his main color is green, so it may not work, but yeah, it kind of cuts in and out. But it's Peter Criss. But anyway, you can't really see it. But he's the beast, right? He's this animal, and he's got an animal tamer that's with him. Really cool set of toys. They put out an album, like I said. Psycho Circus was their album. I don't have Paul Stanley. I did when I was a kid, and I unfortunately, when she sent me these, she only sent me these 3. Totally cool still. But I keep them in the box, not because I'm looking to sell them. I think I looked them up. They're not worth a tremendous amount of money. I just want to keep it for nostalgia. I want to keep it for that. Now, you're like, well, this is weird. Like, that's a really specific set of toys. But let me bring you back to my childhood. I got into Kiss. Obviously, I was not around in the heyday of Kiss. And for those that know this, they're basically, I love this quote. Gene Simmons said this many bands wanted to be the Beatles. Kiss wanted to be Coca-Cola, right? It's a brand. It's marketing like crazy. So they had toys way back in their heyday, right? And they were basically just these action figures, cool stuff, right? Whatever. But again, I didn't live in that time. I didn't have that kind of stuff. But 1998 comes around. They got back together with all 4 original members, and this was part of kind of the marketing side of this album, Psycho Circus, they put out. And this, I was able to get these toys, right? Like this was now, I loved Kiss so much. And it's like, this is something that I can attach to now, right? Like I talked to my dad and I talked to people around that time, and it's like they could attach to those toys and the posters and just everything that came along with Kiss. This was like for me, right? And besides the fact, they look freaking cool, man. Like they're just like, it's different. They have like the hair, and it's like they've got this other person with them, and like these weapons, and it's a new look for Kiss. They've got some pretty cool like sayings on here. So this one right here, Ace Frehley, it says he represents the principles of the universal balance, the ultimate harmony of the cosmos. Like what? Like it's poetry that's on these things. Look, Gene Simmons, he's a creature of fire and shadow, blood and thunder. He embodies vengeance and terror, the darkest impulses of mortal souls. Like what? He's just a bassist for a band, right? Who spits blood and stuff. Anyway, gosh, I love these so much. Again, when I had them as a kid, I obviously took them out of the package. Like that wasn't something I was keeping. I thought it would whatever in the future. And I used to play with these as like wrestling toys too. Like I would make up scenarios and stuff. And hey, the Demon was a wrestler for a little while, so he kind of doubled as my wrestling action figure for him. So it was kind of cool. But the Kiss Psycho Circus line of McFarlane toys was really cool. And look, this is not about McFarlane toys as a whole, but Spawn toys were some of the coolest designed, just artwork. I mean, it wasn't just like, you know what I mean? Like there was so much that went into it. It was like they were actually modeling something for a movie, so that they would take it and, like making a real model for something. So, and that kind of applies into these toys and stuff. And, gosh, I love them. And I wanted to show you guys my collection. That's really my collection that I have. It's nowhere near yours, BJ, but I love these things. They stay away. They don't, in fact, I thought about it recently, and I'm like, man, I might put these out, at the church, which who knows if the church will like them or not. I've got all my other stuff, my collectibles behind my desk, so might as well put those up there too. Anyway, so do you guys remember or have any recollection?
So I don't necessarily remember those figures particularly, but I do know McFarlane Toys. McFarlane Toys, as a whole, just McFarlane period. One thing I will just say, Todd McFarlane is a cool guy. You can go follow his social media, and he'll like in like 10 minutes draw Spider-Man. It's like the most awesome 10 minutes of your life. He goes live and he's just like, I feel like I'm gonna draw Spider-Man today. And but he's a cool guy. His Spawn was kind of like his big thing when he went to Image Comics and basically started that and blew it all up. But the action figures, the cool thing about the action figures is they're so detailed, but they're also very on the kind of gore side, if you will, like kind of on the, like they're very like demon like usually. And so them doing a him doing a Kiss line is probably perfect. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, Todd McFarlane's cool. And I know BJ has a lot more to say on McFarlane Toys because I know he has run into this quite a bit.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't collect those, but I have seen those. And just if you want to complete the set, because I'm the toy hunter, I can find that last one that you're missing.
I would love it. I need it. I've got 3/4 of it now. I need Paul Stanley.
And let me put in some work. But
that's why I did it. That's why I put it out there.
As far as Todd McFarlane, I can say this man, as far as his work for figures, he is looking for guys like us that's going for nostalgia, because I'll be the first one to say this. how many times do you have to put another Batman figure out there, or put another Spawn figure out there, or like right now, his hands are in so many franchises, and only thing I think he's doing is like just like Scrooge McDuck, just swimming in the money, just swimming in the money.
Yeah, they weren't cheap toys either. It wasn't like just the run.
That's another thing. They're collectible.
Yeah,
they're collectible.
Yeah.
Most of McFarlane toys are not basically created to play with. They're created to collect.
Yeah, it's almost more
they are
not on the
art.
kid side of the market. It's
they're works of art.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So,
all right, so BJ, your turn, man. Let's finish off the first half of your mountain.
I'm gonna tell you like this. Let's go ahead and with a loud battle cry, yo, Joe!
there it is. Nice. Yes.
Cobra!
Yeah. Right now, only thing I can say from my dad being in the military to myself and even Kirk up there joining the military, nothing as a kid, good and evil, just back and forth, back and forth. And as I was even telling my mother, I got it back in 87. It was a space station. It's called the Defiant. My parents, for Christmas, paid $100 for this space station. Right now, not even complete, but we'll say mostly all together, that same PlayStation. I know of a toy collector or a toy store where they're selling that same space station for $1,000 right now.
Woo!
And we're not even going to talk about the U.S. flag.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. No, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the coffee table. We're going to talk about the coffee table.
Yeah, exactly.
Who? Now, first off, whose mama bought them that when they were a kid? That's what I want to know.
I can go ahead and tell you.
This is why we can't find this thing anymore. Nobody bought it as a kid. Dude, this thing is huge. It's as big as my kitchen table here. And how much does that thing go for now, BJ? How much does a USS flag go for?
And I think right now, the last thing I heard, and I believe this is outdated, they were talking about like 5, but I'm like, that had to be like 2018 prices, 2017 prices, because like I mean,
you can make this thing, if you set it up sturdy enough, you can make a USS flag a bunk bed for your kid. I mean, it's huge. It is freaking huge. Talking about toy markets, we're halfway on this mountain,
yes.
And I gotta jump into Link because I talked about this last week, BJ, and hopefully again everybody goes back and checks that episode out. It is amazing. Go visit Jason and his play, dude. Just do that. But last week I talked about how cartoons were synonymous with toys back in the 80s. Cartoons were synonymous with toys in the 80s. And I'm going to go with basically it had like 100 episodes. And so it was basically 100 commercials. And every single time they introduced a new character, they brought out a new toy. And I had probably 75% of these things. I remember, and I'll just throw this out here before I share, when I was a kid, I used to go help my mom. She used to work for American Greetings, and she'd set up the greeting cards. And I would go and help mom like during the summer or whatever and put all the cards up and things like that. And if I did so many cards, my mom would buy me a new one of these every single week. And so I got a new one like all the time from Revco or Eckerd's or K&B, like those old like we only have CVS and Walgreens now, but that's what it was back in the day. So my Link is none other than Masters of the Universe. He-Man.
Nice.
Yes, sir. And here's the whole collection for you. Dude, there were 70 figures from what the internet says. And I feel like there was way more than that, but you can help me out with that, BJ. I'm sure you know this, but 70 figures, 24 creatures, 12 vehicles, 6 sets, 10 accessories. Listen, I owned them all. I even owned some of the She-Ra ones, which were like Hordak and those guys. And because they all kind of went in the same line, which that line was kind of for the ladies. My favorite was Cringer. We talked about him in the Cats episode.
Oh, throwback,
yeah. Part 3, episode 3, I think it was when the Answer Your Cat's Questions Day. Go back there and check that one out. But one of my guys I like. Well, so the cool thing was that all of them were like something man, right? And so like Ram Man, and Ram Man, you pushed him together and he ejected out like he was slammed into people, or He-Man. I mean, that He-Man must be the worst name for an action figure. I mean, He-Man. I mean, so this was one of the things and this is the very first one. If you haven't caught it, these are the toys that made us on Netflix. Actually,
so good.
Does a He-Man episode? It actually does. And you already said G.I. Joe. It did a G.I. Joe episode, and it does a Transformers episode. So that's 3 of the ones we've already mentioned, and they have an episode for those. And if you go and watch them, you can hear how they designed them, and they were supposed to be other people. And it's so fascinating to me that how they zeroed in on these kids. Like, they were all about these little small comic books, action figures in the cartoon. And gosh, I own so many. And look, now they've re-released some of the cartoons. Netflix is redoing a couple of them, rebooting and whatnot. Actually, they just rebooted the cartoon twice, almost at the same time, which is kind of weird. But I love this line of action figures. I had so many. It's so much fun to kind of browse through this like checklist behind me and think of which ones I actually had, like Buzz Off the Bee and the guy who was like Sticky, the Moss Man, or Stinkor, which is the one that smelled like a skunk. Right. And like all of them had like weird things with them. But yeah, this is way back, Andy. I don't know that you have any of these or played with any of them. 1981.
I did play with these. A lot of my nostalgia and going back, and I've already said it before, but my uncle had these. So he was a big fan of He-Man. This is the one I was going to say earlier, but I said I'm not going to say it because it may be mentioned later. So this was, definitely one of those toys that I remember playing with. I didn't have them myself, but I would always raid his stash of toys and play with those. So yeah,
these are the toys that made us.
And you mentioned that too. Great. Look, if you guys have not watched that, please go do it. Look, they have that. They've got the food that made us. They've got the movies that made us. They got all kinds of different ones. So really interesting stuff.
BJ, I know you love this.
Yes, sir. They hit 40 this year.
40 this year.
40 this year. Because like this is another remake.
Is that the 40th anniversary?
Yeah.
Right there. I remember just being in Germany as a kid, and for whatever reason, a radiator fell on my sister's leg. Wow. And she was crying and everything else. And me, little kid, I think I was probably about like maybe 5 or 6. And I ran over to her, and, I'm a little kid, trying to basically pick this radiator off my sister's leg. And out of nowhere, just calling out, "By the power of Greystone!" And that's what
He-Man.
That didn't work.
Hey, and don't sleep on He-Man either. He-Man also had PSAs.
Yes. And the thing about that, most of your 80s cartoons, just so they could be aired, had to have some kind of learning curve that they teach kids, and even a PSA at the end, just so they can have a show. But
McFarlane's line of Kiss toys did not have a PSA. So
hey, I'll just go out there and say this. Probably my favorite character. I had a bunch of them, and I mentioned a few, but I had to look him up because I can't remember his name, but I remember playing with him so much, was actually he was like an android, if you will, but Roboto. This dude, bro, this guy was so cool. His head, look, there he is. Bro, that dude was so cool. All the gears move and stuff.
Hold up. I don't know how well the camera's going to get it.
Yeah. That dude was so cool, man. I had him so much. This is another collection that my mom tossed, and I was furious.
All right. Well, hey.
Let's move along.
He-Man. Good one. Good pick.
He-Man.
So for my link, I'm going to go outside of the box here. Okay. I said it in my criteria, like, did I have them? Did I play with them? You know, one of the big things was like just hanging out in my room and playing with these. This was a toy. Maybe I'm cheating a little bit here, but it's okay because this is my show, right? So we can do this. We make the rules, right? But it is a toy. It's just in a different sense. I had to be outside for this thing, okay? This was another one like my Rosie it took the nation by storm, or at least my community and just my age of kids at this time. We're talking the year 2000. Okay. So at this time I'm 11, 12, you know, I'm like right around there. Like this, it just was a phenomenon. Okay. Everyone had to have one. My link, number 2 on my list, is the Razor scooter. Whoa. I had so much fun on these things, man. And obviously they're still out. Like the whole scooter thing is the thing. But put yourself in the year 2000, 2001, when this thing just blew up. Everyone had to have a scooter. It was the hot item. So much so that they have the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. They had a scooter video game, like weird, right? But I remember these things. I remember having like the little wheelie bar on the back, like if you were fancy and you had those cool ones, and you could pop a wheelie, and you would just eat it on the sidewalk or whatever. But fun times, man. Having these, you would buy the ramps. Sometimes like those kids would get those big giant plastic ramps from Walmart and things. I loved the scooter. I spent so much time outside riding these things, and just a great memory of my childhood. So, Kirk, you've been here before. My grandmother had a condo in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Fort Morgan, but Gulf Shores, Alabama, right? And there they have these boardwalks, right? And on these boardwalks, they would drop down, right? Like there's these spots where it would go down, and actually, this was years and years and years before this. They were redone when you were there, but back in the day, they were even steeper. Like it was not very safe to do this. Let alone, to walk down them. We would take our scooters to the beach, and we had, I spent more time riding my scooter on the boardwalk than I did at the beach or the pools. It was so much fun. I loved it. It was a blast. Like I said, it was this window of time. And I didn't think about this one until I started doing a little research just to make sure that I remembered everything. But when I scrolled on it, and it was like on a list of like items you had to have if you were a kid in the 2000s, right? Like you just had to have this thing. And it brought back, it moved its way all the way up here to Link, because I just think about how much time I spent riding these scooters. All my friends would have one. Like you have your bikes and you go ride outside, but everyone had a scooter. This summer, this year or two, you had to have it. And so my Link, my number 2 is the scooter, which is obviously still a thing. Kids are having those, but again, I'm thinking the Razor scooter was the thing to have. Well, you guys, I know you're a little bit older at the time where these things came out, but
so that's a classic. And I didn't put, gosh, now that you're kind of jogging my mind a little bit, I didn't put bikes, I didn't put skateboards, I didn't put any of that. And
I said I had them in different categories. So like
I probably would put a bike on there. Bike is probably the George of, gosh, I didn't even think about that. Like I wasn't even in that realm. I was thinking more like inside toy. But I never had a scooter. I never actually had a Razor, if you will, because I think like you said, the Razor came out in like 2000. So that would have made me like 22, right? If that was when that actually came out. And so then you would have been like 11. Right. So when it came out, I never had one, but I have rode a Razor several times. my kids all have them, and you know, I'll get on there and zip around, and you know, we got a pretty steep road out here.
Right. That's a fun one to ride it on.
You'll zip down and then come back up, and then BJ, did you have a scooter? Do you got your cousin have one? What's going on?
Pretty much from BMX bikes, skateboards. That was about it.
Yeah. I was a BMXer. Dude, I was a BMXer all day.
I tried to skateboard. I never had the coordination to do a skate. Like I could go up and down my driveway, but when it came to like just doing it free, like
the only memory I have of skateboarding and that I can really like unlocking that core memory. My back door was a sliding glass door, like big, like 2 panes. The whole thing slides open. That was my back door. And I was in the kitchen kind of going, and I slipped. And when I slipped, I shot the freaking skateboard right through the door. Right through it. And I was like, I don't know, probably 10. And you know, my life went before me, and my dad had to go get a new door, and you know, whatever. But I don't remember skating much more after that. I think I took my skateboard away. I don't.
Yeah.
I never really skated.
I blame movies like Gleaming the Cube.
Gleaming the Cube, baby. That movie was so awesome.
That, Rad, and the Police Academy movie, I think Citizens on Patrol.
Yeah.
Because they had a little skater moment in there, or skater montage.
Yeah. Yeah, Gleaming the Cube. That is a jam. Anyways, all right. So, man, scooter, that's a good pick. I like it. It's worthy. It's worthy. Makes me want to rethink maybe throwing a bike on here because bike is but yeah, I'm gonna stick with where I'm at. BJ, so what's the second half of your mountain? You're gonna start it with length. Here we go.
Oh, sir. This one right here, we got some years on this one. Anybody want some pizza?
Oh,
yes,
yes, sir.
I love it.
And this one right here is actually from '87 because it actually has the pizza points on it.
No way!
And like, when they did the reboot, I was like, oh, they don't have the pizza points up on here.
What's happening, man?
But but nah, this one right here, this one's for you, Kirk. Michelangelo is my favorite turtle.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Michelangelo.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Macho Man.
Wow.
The Macho Man.
That's the crossover people never knew they needed. We didn't know he needed it, but I guess we figured it out.
And
the Undertaker.
From Sting, Cena, and The Undertaker.
Wait,
and they have
Cena was the one they picked out of these four? I feel like it should have been a much more classic.
Well, of course, it's Leo as Cena. It would be.
Yeah.
So who's Donnie?
Donnie's Undertaker.
Undertaker.
The purple
Dude,
makes sense.
That's perfect. That's perfect because I'm a Donnie guy. Yeah, I love Mikey. Mikey's number 2. He's my link, but Donnie's my George. Yep. I like Donnie because he was always the smart, nerdy guy that kind of got picked on by his brothers, and I just related to him the most. I loved Mikey because he's funny. I saw something the other day. I was actually watching kind of a history of the Ninja Turtles and the cartoon and all that because I almost put it on our show last week. And man, again, you came out with Transformers and Ninja Turtles, and both this week and last week, that's my number 5 and number 6 on honorable mention. And I love dude. I struggled with getting the Ninja Turtles on last week, and I didn't struggle this week because the only thing that they are an iconic toy. If you're talking about George of action figures, if you're talking about action figures, and this isn't on your mountain, then you didn't collect. Like, I mean, you just didn't. Like, but the only thing about Ninja Turtles is that I didn't have that many. And I don't remember why. I mean, it's when I think of my timeline, I'm like, okay, so the Ninja Turtles came out late 80s, right? So that would have put me at about 10 to 12 to 14 range. That could put me in like 7th, 8th, or 9th grade. I still had action figures. I don't know why I didn't get them. but I didn't, and I just didn't. I didn't have any, so that's why it didn't make my mountain. Not because they're not iconic enough, because they are definitely, ding, definitely deserving on the mountain. So thanks for mentioning that one.
Yeah, because I mean, I even see younger kids now walking around wearing like the Ninja Turtle shirts, and I even mentioned to them, I was like, I used to watch that as a kid, and they just look at me like, oh, that dude's weird.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really, and look, if you're following them now, I mean, like now they're doing so much crazy stuff. Like all of them are dead except Mikey, and they did a Ronin kind of thing where he's like going to save and like revenge or avenge all of those. You know,
all those issues and waiting on my figures now.
I will just say this, and this is one of the things I was going to say about last week. BJ, is what I love about the Ninja Turtles is usually when you reboot something, kind of like He-Man. Like I haven't watched the new ones, all of them, because my son's watched a few, and it just doesn't capture me. It doesn't capture me. Like Thundercats when they did the new one, it didn't capture me. But the Ninja Turtles, every single time they redo it, every single movie, every single reboot, I am locked in. Like I want to watch it. I want to see it. I want to see this new game that just came out and released. Shredder's Revenge, I think it's called. They got a new cartoon coming out. They got a new movie coming out. They got a new movie. They got all kinds of stuff. These guys are trendsetters. And the funny thing is, it all started as a joke. It started as a joke. These two guys were falling apart. Eastman and they were just struggling. And he draws a turtle that was a ninja
on a napkin,
and he's like, look at this silliness, and they're like, hey, we might have something. And originally they were all red, and they changed them to market them, and so kids would know who they were.
So BJ, let me say this:
good.
First time meeting you here. We've chatted a little bit prior to this, very briefly, but not. This is my first time meeting you, man. I could tell this is a good friendship because you picked the right one, Mikey. Mikey is the way to go if you're going to pick one of the Ninja Turtles. He's a party dude. You got to love Michelangelo.
He's a party dude. Oh, iconic theme song and commercials.
Oh yeah,
he was on your theme songs, right?
If I'm not mistaken. Yep. Well, I think it was my Benjamin.
Yep. Good pick, man. I love that. I played with those too. Again, these things that are before my time, I'm still playing with. So great.
We still are not crushing yet. I have a feeling these Georges are going to crush.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, Kirk, let's move to our George. Let's get to the top of the mountain. Who is your number one? What is your number one toy?
All right, guys. Well, I don't think, honestly, I think it's no surprise, especially if you watched last week and this week and whatever. 1980s to me is all about toys. It's all about cartoons. It's all about nostalgia, eating bowls of cereal, sitting there watching a Saturday morning. And this is one of the ones when you talk about, I wanted to own all of the cartoons. This is another toys that made us. This is, along with He-Man, it was one of the ones that were toy commercials. And it was also one of the ones where when eBay first opened, I'm looking to buy the bootlegs of, because at that time, you couldn't find the cartoons to watch. But none other that I am going with a Crushmore with BJ, and it's going Yo Joe, baby. G.I. Joe, man. G.I. Joe. Now, look, I gave a couple things last week. I gave a little bit even when I was talking in BJ's little session. But the original G.I. Joe figures started way back in '63. They were like Barbie dolls. They were huge. They were full-size figures. And I remember my grandmother giving me one of those. She didn't have any of the clothes for it or any of the like accessories. It was just like something up in an attic. And I remember like, this is weird. It's a naked Barbie doll boy, right? But it was one of the reasons that Hasbro and all them decided to change it was because they didn't want to necessarily combat with Barbie. So they went and tried to actually go after Star Wars. Star Wars was doing such a great thing with their smaller figures. They said, let's try this out. Now, 163 figures is what I found on the internet. I don't know if that's true. I feel like it should be more, but 163 is a lot. I'll tell you this. My favorite action figures back then were always the ones that came with an animal, right? And so like half of them came with animals, like Crocmaster and Voltar and Rawhide. They came with like eagles and boars and fish. But my favorite was Mutt. My favorite guy was Mutt. It came with like a Rottweiler, and I love that guy. Also, I had look at there you go, Crocodile, dude. That dude was legit cool. That guy was so awesome. That's kind of a bigger figure, right? That he seems bigger.
Yeah. They went from the
6-inch,
3.75 to the 6.
Yeah. So a couple other things I'd like to just throw out there. This is the first time, and probably the only time. You know, we talked about it back in the cereal episode when you get a toy out of the cereal and you had to mail it off, right? I actually mailed off for many of these toys, and I had all of these. I literally had every one of these, and I'm sitting back there thinking, I was like, gosh, I can't believe my mom actually put the UPCs together for me, put them in an envelope, put the $10 or whatever it was, and mailed this thing off. Like, it seems like such an archaic thing, but it happened. And look, one of them that I had was Sergeant Slaughter. There was a windsurfing Manta, which was like just a windsurfing toy, which was really cool. All my guys rode that. The new Cobra Commander, where he just wore a hood instead of the iconic mask. But Refrigerator Perry from the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears had an action figure, and the fridge had him. And the idea of these guys are just awesome. My favorite characters, obviously, I said were the ones with the animals, because I liked having the mutt and the crocodile and all that. But if I was just to have a select few right now, like if I was to go out and be like, I need to get a few of these guys, Gung Ho was awesome. But I would want the Dreadnoks and all of their people, like Zartan and the twins, Tomax and Zomat, and then Zartan's sister or whatever it was, it's Zatanna, I think her name was. And then you had the Dreadnoks, which were quite a few of them. They were like biker guys. And I remember I used to have those guys were like my main baddies. Like those are the ones I wanted to have all the time to fight Duke and Mutt and Snow Job and all those guys. So anyways, I had so many of these figures. And my mom, this is the dude. I mentioned it last week. I think I came home from college. My mom decided to clean out the attic or whatever the heck she was doing and threw away basically every single toy I had saved. And I had this collection along with, He-Man and Micro Machines and Battle Beasts and so many more, that are probably on my honorable mentions. But yeah, disappointing. My George is none other than G.I. George.
G.I. George. Very nice. Yeah, obviously, BJ, we know you've said this. It's a Crushmore, so obviously you agree with this pick. You are on board with this. I never, and maybe it's the generational thing. Like I'm on board with all the other things, and I'm not against G.I. Joe. I think it's great. I just
Barbecue and Roadblock, and gosh, I mean, I'm just still thinking of names, man.
I never had,
and the cartoon was great too.
Right, I never had the love for it because it just was a little bit before my time. But
here's another thing. A reason I picked this picture behind me.
Yeah,
this was the first time, and I mentioned it last week. It was the first time that I actually wanted to save packaging. Because on the back of these cards, they did something, and they did their like story, like a baseball card, if you will. And then you showed the back of the Ninja Turtle one just a minute ago. They did something similar, but that was 10 years later. Like they started this thing where the packaging was cool. So if you can find one of these guys actually in the packaging from the original 1981 series, most of the time they make cases for these things because they're so expensive. So there you go, man.
Cool.
And just for your picture, I see that there's fridge in the back.
Yeah, look at it around here. I think right there, right here.
Yeah, I was like, hold up, he was never came in packaging like that.
Nope, he didn't come like that.
Order. He was a mail order.
Which is funny that you noticed that. I'm so glad you noticed that because when I put this picture up there. When I put this picture up there, that's the very first thing I noticed.
Got him, had him, didn't want him.
So here's Gung Ho. Here's Gung Ho. Wait, no, right. I can't even do it because it's backwards. Right there. There's Gung Ho.
Right there.
Yep, he's one of my faves.
Right next to Spirit, and I think that's Stalker. I'm not sure whose that is.
No
that
job.
Like Crazy Leg.
This is no job. I can't. I just can't. Right here, right behind me.
Quick Kick.
Quick Kick was like Bruce Lee.
Wow.
Roadblock was always the best, dude. He was so awesome.
Cool stuff. Yeah. So, hey, it's interesting. I just don't have much to add to it because it really wasn't in my time.
Well, there it is, my G.I. George. Now, look, don't disappoint me here. Don't disappoint me here.
All right. So, my George, Kirk, I think you know what it is. I think I held true to when I said in the beginning that all four of mine are going to be in different sort of genres of toys. So I've got your stuffed animal, I've got the action figure kind of look, I've got an outdoor, toy, I guess. This one is so simple. Gosh, when you see it, it is the simplest of simple things that you can think of, but I love it for so many reasons. And I don't have a whole thing to show you right now because actually I do have some of these, and I do have them at my work, at my desk, at the church. They're just kind of on display. They're things that I love. And my George, possibly the George of toys, the Lego. I love Legos.
I knew you were going to pick it
so much. Now, Kirk, this is cool. This is a little backstory. You know this, but I'm part of Cadre, and if you don't know what the Cadre is, basically like youth leader fellowship training, just doing life together and just really pouring into your life. Anyway, it's a really cool thing. And we were asked in the first time we were there in Atlanta at Jeannie Mayo's home to share a token, which is basically we could pick anything and just what does it mean to us, maybe for us personally in ministry and just whatever. And I chose this exact Lego piece. This is the one that I keep this one individual Lego piece by my bed at all times because it just reminds me, and I don't want to get overly spiritual and deep about a Lego. I'll talk about why I love Legos in a minute, but it always just reminds me that in ministry and in life that I'm just a part of what God wants to do. Like when you look at the individual Lego piece, like there's nothing impressive about this. It's plastic. It's you could say, well, this is yellow. Okay, it could be a school bus, but it looks nothing like it right now, right? Like it could be a million different things, but we're all just kind of a little part of what God wants to do. So just wanted to preach for a second there. But that's what I shared when I did it. But gosh, I love Legos from a kid. You talked about micro machines hurting when you step on them. There is a whole meme following of these things. Have you seen the video of the guy who puts these on a treadmill and runs on it? Like, why do you do that? Why do that? So I love Legos. They're one of the things to me that so you can buy the sets that are like the actual thing you're creating, and it's therapy. It's very stress reliever for me. I get into that instruction booklet. I love it, and my kids. Really, my 8-year-old, she is now kind of growing a passion for Legos too. So we'll go to the store and she's like, Dad, we got to get this Lego. And the unfortunate thing is that all the Lego things that I want are like $200. So we always buy like the smaller things, which are still like $40. Like it's crazy. But we enjoy kind of working on these things together. She doesn't have the stamina quite yet to sit with me through a whole building of a Lego thing, but man, we love it so much. And like I said, I've only got this one individual piece here, but I do have a few Star Wars things, a few other things that I've put together that are on display at my desk. It's just a great thing. And something so simple as this. Now, I want to share this. I actually, you know me, I like to look up interesting facts about things and share those because I want the Rushmore Show to not just be entertainment. I want it to be education. So
educational.
I found a couple facts, and I'm going to rapid fire these, okay? And then you guys can tell me what about Legos. Did you know that 6 2x4 Lego bricks can be combined in more than 915 million ways? Wow, that's crazy, right? Like that just goes to show you, that kind of goes to my point of like just being, I don't even know how that works. 915 million ways they can be used together, 6 of them. A column of approximately 40 billion Lego bricks can reach the moon. So, hey, in case you have 40 million lying around anywhere. There's one that I want to get to that to me was shocking. This is the last one I want to share. I've got a list full of them, but I don't want to bore you guys with this. Lego, get this, sells 400 million tires each year, on their, like the little car tires. But that actually makes them the world's largest tire manufacturer is Lego. Did you know that? No. And isn't that crazy that like you think of like Goodyear and you think of all these tires? Nope. Lego's got you beat. 400 million tires each year. And then the last one, I did say that was the last one. This was a cool one too. There are 86 Lego bricks for every person on Earth. 86 Lego bricks for each person on Earth. Come on. I mean, it's an iconic thing. These things were the Lego company was created in like the 30s, and just a blast. So
if I'm selecting the goats, okay, we already talked about a few that potentially could make it. This has to make it, just because of the style. It transcends gender. It transcends age. It transcends culture. I mean, like it is. You can have. I mean, we've actually looked at it. We've seen if we could find a Rushmore mountain of Lego.
Okay. So I've looked for this.
We have to commission somebody. I think
BJ. I don't know if it's even out there. I can't find a Rushmore Lego set anywhere. Like Lego,
we have to commission it. Probably we have to find somebody that.
We're gonna find someone who can do that because I really need one.
It will probably have to be as big as your house, but okay.
Well, I mean, they have done the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, and I see those.
So I mean, it's
Liberty.
So yeah, we need that in our life. Also, this is also on the Toys That Made Us. This is the last one that I think we're gonna probably have. Unless, BJ might be able to pull out another one of these, but I don't think so. It's just it's a great toy. That was probably the first Toys That Made Us episode that I watched, and I was so intrigued from that I had to watch more. I was like, wow, like just the whole story that it came from. And so, anyways, great pick. I knew that was going to be your George because you've mentioned it before on this show.
It's one of my next tattoos that I'm getting is actually this Lego brick. So the two real quick things, and then BJ, I want to hear your thoughts on Legos. Number one, the Lego movie franchise that has come out of this is just amazing. Lego Batman, Lego fill in the blank, right? Lego everything is amazing. I love it. And then secondly, I love Disney, and we go to Disney Springs. If you get the chance to ever go to Disney Springs, go check out the Lego store there. They've got these massive sculptures of, like Kylo Ren that's made completely out of Legos. They've got this dragon that's in the water that is made completely out of Legos. Chewbacca. They got so many Frozen. It's amazing stuff. So yeah, BJ, what you think? What you think about Legos?
I'm just going to tell you one of my most expensive sets of Legos.
Oh my goodness! Look at that thing.
I paid over $100 for this, and it has over 1,000 pieces.
So cool.
And the reason I got this was because it was based off of the Monkey King, which is my favorite Chinese fable. So
that is so cool. That is so cool, man.
All right, BJ. Look, man, it's been a long road. We've got 11 on the list. It is time for you to unveil your George.
Well, my George, which is another Crushmore.
Let's go.
Masters of the Universe.
He-Man.
But the thing about this is Sunman. And this wasn't originally part of the Masters of the Universe line. A mother actually made this character for her son because he up there basically felt like there's no action figures out there for the He-Man line that represented him. So this mother made Sunman and a couple of other different race characters and created a line. And now Master of the Universe have basically included.
That's so cool.
They adapted it. They took it and ran with it. Dude, that's cool.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm all about representation and inclusion and stuff like that. I mean, this is one of them. But
so cool.
As far as, like I said, I mean, He-Man has been like a real staple in my life.
So cool.
Like, as I always say, when I'm talking to my other friends, I'm like, the collection is mighty. The collection is mighty.
Yeah. So BJ, I'm just going to throw this out there. Crushmore, I love it. So we talked about last week, right? And last week we talked about cartoons, and He-Man just missed a few of the cuts, but it made other mountains, and man, I loved He-Man as a cartoon. It is, I mean, way up there. So I wanted to immortalize it because it's such a great cartoon and a great meme that none other than Andy is He-Man and I am Skeletor on our thumbnail for last week's episode.
Hey, if they're looking for an actor for He-Man for the reboot, I'm just saying I look pretty good on the thumbnail there, right? Hey, cool pick. He-Man, obviously, man. You guys are like 50% of your mountain is a match, so that's really cool. Those are some of the greats, right?
Like I think we're gonna have some honorable mentions that go right there too. It's a great mountain.
If you're gonna say goats, He-Man, i.joe, like Ninja Turtle, like all of these things are amazing. But you know what's cool? Like we've only picked 12, and there are so many of these other ones. We say Rosie is that line in the sand you have to eliminate. And there are so many of these things that we just were not able to talk about. But Kirk, let us know. Let them know. What are we going to do special here?
Look, I'm just going to introduce it now. If you've watched the show before, we always have a second segment. From this point on, this is what our second segment is going to be. This is where we've decided to line up because we always have extras. And we always want to give, but I think the best way to do this is to actually go back to one of our favorites, All About the Benjamins, and give our bennies. But this time, we're going to have a little spin on it. So let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, Rushmore Show, here we go. A new spin on our All About the Benjamins segment. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go and list each one of us are going to give our next 4, right? Top 4 and nothing more. Well, here is the something more. It's our next 4, and that's going to be our Benjamins. But here's the spin. We cannot crush more with each other. So if I pick one, Andy and BJ cannot pick it. So we're going to give you 12 of the next 12 best toys that we can possibly think of. Now, some of us we're going to miss out on some of them because somebody else is going to choose them. But otherwise, we're going to get some good picks in here. Now, we've decided to go backwards in the order that we went last in our Rushmore. So our order is going to be BJ, Andy, Kirk, and so on and so forth. So BJ, which now look, it's going to be rapid fire, not a whole lot of explaining, but which guys missed your mountain? Give me a Benjamin for you.
Do I need to say more?
Thundercats!
Oh, that's my favorite. Yes,
that's a great one. Hey, look, that stole one for me. That's one of mine. I can't put it down, and I'm so glad you put it there. All right, Andy. Hey, because that's a definite. Hey, look, that was a part of that group. So
yeah, I don't think this is going to be on your list. Here we go. Mine, and I don't have these ones, but just to tell you, the Tech Deck skateboards.
Oh my gosh, Cannon wants these so bad.
I loved them. It was part of my life. So Tech Deck.
Awesome. Now look, I'm going to jump in. So it's now my first pick. And so you've got a lot of ones you've already said that I'm going to take off my. I'm going to go with none other than the Star Wars action figures. The Star Wars action figures are iconic, and they led that line. So, awesome. All right, that's a good set of mountains. Here we go. All right, BJ, back to you, man.
Oh
my goodness!
Anybody want to Care Bear stairs?
Oh my goodness!
I don't feel so bad about my Beanie Babies then. Okay,
now look, I'm going to throw this out there. I owned one Care Bear my whole life, one, and it was Wish Bear because when I was a kid, my nickname was Wish. So it had Wish Bear. So man, that's a good pick. Good pick. That one's definitely not on my list, so I didn't lose one. So
I didn't have it on my list either. Okay. All right. My next one, loved these. This is kind of a spin-off of a toy that we've already talked about today. I loved this line of toys, and it was the Street Sharks toys.
Oh,
they were so cool. They came in the little like cage. So Street Sharks.
Street Sharks. Good one. Good one. Good pick. Now look, I'm gonna go and pick another one that, gosh, I'm gonna go with one. It's kind of like a 2-in-1 because they were almost the same exact toy, but I'm gonna go with the line that I collected most. So I'm gonna go with none other than Muscle. Yeah, these are the little guys. Yeah, and look, I had so many of these guys, but they had Monster in Your Pocket too. So I'm gonna go with Muscle as my second on my mountain.
Nice.
Dude, I love these guys. I try to collect them all. This was like my Pokemon, man. I collect them. Dude, so many of these things. They were all over my house. Yeah, I love them. Little wrestlers. All right, DJ, now to you.
Real Ghostbusters.
Ooh,
okay.
That's a cartoon that almost made my my list last week. That's a great cartoon after school, right before Voltron. Yeah, man.
Not to be confused with Filmation's Ghostbusters.
So the real Ghostbusters, dude. That was a great cartoon, great action figures. That's a good pick. I'm actually surprised somebody picked that one. Go ahead. All right, Andy.
All right. I don't think you have these ones on your list, but I loved the Stone Protectors. What they were was the Trolls.
The Trolls?
Remember the Trolls? But it was like for boys, so they were muscles, and they were like in a rock band, and it just really, they had rollerblades on. I love the Stone Protectors. I remember having those. I don't know if it was my time or my uncle had them, but I remember distinctly having those Stone Protectors.
Stone Protectors. I
had the one with the rollerblades.
Yeah. He was awesome.
So I always had a troll around the house somehow or another, but I never had one that was actually cool. I didn't have the Stone Protectors.
The Stone Protectors were like the
right.
Boys like these now.
Right.
Like it's really cool. Yeah.
All right.
I got their first issue. They had a comic book too.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go with none other than, and gosh, it's one of three. I'm gonna go. I mentioned it last week. I had all these guys. That's why I put it on the mountain of my cartoons. I'm going with Voltron, the original Power Rangers. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with them.
All right, BJ. What's one more? One more for you.
Get ready. Don't feel bad about the Beanie Babies. Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah,
oh, that's what I thought you were going to say earlier, Andy. I thought you were going to say Cabbage Patch Kid, and I was going to have to run over to the house and find mine because Candace has my original Cabbage Patch Kid. All right, Andy, we got two more. Two more for the mountain.
Last one for me. I'm going to put this in the category of you had to have this in the late 90s, early 2000s. If you didn't have one of these, more 90s, I guess, but you just were not cool. And thinking outside of the box here a little bit, Tamagotchi. You gotta have a little Tamagotchi toy. You gotta feed it. Funny story, I remember giving it to my mom one day when she went to work and I had school, and I came home and my pet died because she didn't feed it during the day, and I was heartbroken. So Tamagotchi is rounding up my list. I had it, I love it, and they're back now, which is really cool.
So I planned this. I planned this to finish with this one, hoping that one of you guys would pick this, but none of y'all did. So I'm going to put my other one in the comments. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
But I'm going to do none other than...
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you have to. Yeah.
The only original freaking toys that I still have from the original box.
Wow.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The yellow one's over here.
Come on.
Yeah, so when I worked at KB Toys, these people were nuts trying to get into the door. And I'm like, what's so important about these toys? I might need to buy them if they're so important. So I bought these 5 before the door even opened.
Wow.
And I still have them, still in their pack, never opened them. Power Rangers, gotta make the mountain.
So you have Voltron, the original
Voltron and Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
So look, I threw Voltron hoping that you guys would pick Power Rangers.
Throwing the new school in there.
There you go, man. There you go. But I'll put my other one in the bottom of the comments to make sure that I can find them.
Man, so cool. Look, we had a great set of Rushmore mountains. But like we said, we can make another mountain, and I like all 4 of our Benjamin mountains. So
let's go.
Just
hey, it's been a fun time. It's been a fun time. So look, let's round out this day. So, it seems like we have a lot of similars, a lot of action figures. Obviously, you guys, Andy, you brought in Lego, which I knew was important, but you did shock me with 2 of those. You know, I wasn't. It doesn't shock me that you had a scooter on there. It's just I wasn't thinking in that world. But man, Beanie Babies, whoa.
I have to tell the truth.
It's on a mountain. I mean, it's on somebody's mountain, and it's definitely need to be there. I just was shocked that you said it. I mean, that tells me a lot about you. I learned a lot about you. But hey, so look, we've come to the end of we've come to the end of August. It's come to the end of right about now. My birthday should be ending. We've come to the end of nostalgic month. We're moving into September, which is football. We got a fantasy football league. We're going to keep you guys in check and let you guys know how the league's going throughout our time. You'll catch us down and see how that's going. But next month we are jumping into football, Rushmore, similar to what we did with baseball, and we'll kind of do some similar things. But if you're looking to get on the Rushmore Show and hang out with us, you're welcome. This is a very diverse, interesting friend group. I mean, you can come from all walks of life and join us. You don't have to be special on the mic or anything like that. So we'd love to have you. I mean, last week we had Jason with us. We've had so many YouTubers on here. If you're another YouTuber and you want to jump on, let's go. And if you want us on your show, let's go. But it's been a good time. Andy, what you got left to tell these people? Gosh,
I don't want August to end. Both of our birthdays this month. This whole idea of nostalgia.
It's getting old, man.
You know, it happens. So, but I am so glad that we were able to take this trip down memory lane with all of our friends here in the Rushmore community. And BJ, man, thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to meet you today.
Go check out BJ.
Yeah.
Baby Ox 78, right? Baby Ox 78 on TikTok. Go check our TikTok out as well. That's the Rushmore Show. And it's just been a wild ride. We are really rocking and rolling. Thank you to all our fans. And here's the question of the week. Comment on the bottom. What was your favorite toy as a child? And kind of let us know what you thought about our mountains. So
give us your Rushmore, give us your Benjamins. Just have some fun in the comments. Comment on other people's stuff. Let's keep the conversation going. It's just a blast. So, man,
great time, man. Great rush hour. Let's go. So, how do we end this thing usually, man?
You guys know what time it is. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
and nothing more.
Peace.